Rogers TV, Tillsonburg.
Hi, and welcome to Oxford Empowered. I'm Brenda Pierce, the Empowered Nurse, here today on Long Point Bay with Graham Ferguson, the captain, the natural interpretive historian, who is the owner of the Island Hugger Tours of Long Point Bay. Here today, we're going to be cruising along, learning the lore and the history of Long Point Bay, and welcoming you to this brand new maiden voyage of this venture. Graham, welcome to the show, and thank you for having us here today.
It is a real pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Well, this is a wonderful first event for you to have such a wonderful business starting here on Long Point Bay. What was your motive towards having this venture start?
One of the really big things was I really enjoy boating. I really enjoy teaching about the natural history of life. And when you can put those two things together, I think you have a fantastic combination.
Yes.
So when I first started this, it was a dream of over 6 years ago that happened. And little by little, I was able to chip away and chip away and chip away until what you're seeing here today.
Wonderful. So this is actually going to be the maiden voyage, right?
That's correct.
Wow, how exciting is that?
I have butterflies. I really am just enthralled that everyone was interested enough to come in and have a look, and we really appreciate everyone coming out today.
I think Long Point Bay is a hidden gem of southwestern Ontario. I think more people need to know about the wonderful history in our own backyard. And with their close proximity to Oxford County, Long Point Bay is popular with the citizens of Oxford County, Tillsonburg in particular. And I grew up in this area.
Yes, I know.
Yes, and so I'm excited to have this opportunity to cruise with you today and learn more about our wonderful ecosystem we have around here.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure, and let's get going.
Yeah, sounds good. Come
you.
on, let's go.
Let's go.
So Graham, you know, you've got this fabulous vessel. I'd like for you to tell us the stats on it, because, you know, people like to know, more about what the vehicle is.
This is a 2011 Princecraft Versailles. The reason I purchased this boat for touring was because of the full enclosure. When you're out in the elements, sometimes it's really fun to be out in the sun, but you need a place to get away from that. If you're having wind and things like that. And once again, that comes down to the whole experience. If you're cold, you're not having a good time. So I want to be able to have those options to be able to say, hey, we have a little bit of sun here, we can open it up, or, it's a little bit chilly, let's bring it down. It's 25.5 feet long, 8.23 feet wide, so it gives lots of room to maneuver around. And it also, when I'm doing talks and interpretive guiding, where I have skulls and furs and all sorts of cool stuff like that out, it's nice to be able to talk to people without having my back to anybody. That is really key. As well as the boat, I'm running a 4-stroke 2011 Mercury engine, so it's about as fuel efficient as you can get, and it doesn't pollute as much into the lake. So as we cruise over, we're only about less than 3 feet in depth. So that allows me to go into places like into the marsh, where we can and are allowed to do this, into the cuts, so we can actually talk about some of the invasive species, and also just take in some of that rare beauty that a lot of people don't get a chance to see.
Right, wow, that's phenomenal. It's really good to know, because a lot of people cruise on Long Point Bay in their power cruisers or jet skis or whatever, but the pontoon boat really affords a great accessibility to parts that other people would never see otherwise.
The pontoon boat has had a real resurgence. Since about 2007, it has become one of those things that I think as people start to get a little bit older and they have families and stuff, and sometimes it's a little bit hard to have 10 grandkids on board your boat.
Right.
But we can hold up to 12 people in total.
We just took an exciting ride across the Inner Bay over to Potohawk Island. Can you tell us a little bit about what we experienced while we were coming across?
Well, we're experiencing what you would normally have in May. Weather which started in the morning, which was a little bit cloudy and overcast with a bit of wind, and then we were able to enjoy this weather as it slightly turned. This area here, specifically Long Point, has its own microclimate. Because of so much sand and things like that. It actually creates a lot of extra heat, so it actually a lot of times will have really good weather here, but somewhere inland it won't be as good. So So the idea is just to always watch what's happening and enjoy yourselves and make sure that we don't get into too much of the wave action and things. This is why we're here, because the wind is coming out of the east, and it's a nice lee for us to enjoy this time together.
And the water is nice and actually it's quite smooth right now, even if we're listing a little bit, but it's beautiful because the color of the water is so vibrant. It's aquamarine today and just gorgeous. And the color of the water of the lake changes, doesn't it, from season to season?
It does. Right now we don't have a lot of marine growth. We've had typically cool weather, a lot of rain, and a lot of wind. So what we typically have is that we have a little bit higher water right now, so we can afford ourselves to go into some places where maybe we couldn't have before. The weather itself today is just typical Long Point weather. If you don't like it, wait 5 minutes and it'll change.
Exactly. This area is rich with history. I wonder if you can tell us a little bit of this particular area by Potahawk. What is the historical highlights of this particular piece of paradise?
This area here was really big into duck hunting. So what they used to do is have punt boats, and they still have punt boats. They're very small crafts, and that's what you used to go out into the marsh with. Some of the best people that were in the area they hired, and that's to the Loin Point Company, and then you would come out and you would do your activity. Now, people might think that this is the first time this has ever happened. Well, as early as the late 1800s, we had people coming in to enjoy themselves. We had many different locations, some of them which were on the water, where you could stay, fish, hunt, and sleep, and then you would have another boat take you back. At that time, Port Rowan had an actual train depot, so you could actually train yourself here, come in by train, and then so what we would then do is, so there's a very big history here of hunting and fishing and so on and so forth. Even back in the days of the Jesuit priests that would come in, they actually considered this place to be the breadbasket of Ontario, which was quite interesting. So the last bear sighting they had here was 1857. That was a black bear.
Really?
So all of the animal and flora and fauna that you used to see, you know, up north in Muskoka and stuff, originated here as well.
Wow.
After the Jesuit priests were here, Long Point basically was not really known for another 200 years.
Wow.
And then the first couple white settlers came into the area, and then they started, you know, propagating from there. And then when the actual area became Norfolk County, that's when the real activity started in the area. But for many years, the only way you could get in here, especially to Long Point, was by boat. Wow. So you either had to come in by sailboat, or you had to press on the oars and get over from any one of these little areas here.
Right, right. I know that Port Rowan in particular, there's a lot of old settlement in the area, a lot of pioneers and loyalists really settled in the area, and very rich with historical homes and churches and just amazing what is in our own backyard.
It's quite incredible. A lot of times I say to people whenever they're exploring and looking, look for those signs, look for those cool things, and then Google it and find a little bit more information, because it is certainly worth it. This area here had one of the largest First Nations, late woodland period. They were called the Neutrals, and they were not Huron and they were not Iroquois. They would never fight alongside another one. They did active trading back and forth, which was quite interesting. So even from an early period, it was a hunting and gathering place. No one really lived on Long Point. It was a very dynamic beach where it could be high or it could be low. But Coletta Bay, which is the opposite side of where we went, that was the easiest way to get across to the lakeside to do fishing and things like that.
Right.
So people came down to hunt and gather, and then they went back to their own places. And they were registered in one area. So they would actually have hunting and fishing, and then they come back and they had long homes and things like that. So they're more of a permanent structure, which was very cool, very interesting.
Yeah. I know that really the area too is also rich in shipwrecks as well.
Yes, it is.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We have roughly 387 wrecks, which actually makes it more than the Bermuda Triangle.
Really?
Yes,
wow.
it is. A lot of them are concentrated somewhat towards not the end of the point, but actually more in the middle. And if you wonder why, it's because originally there used to be a lighthouse right in the center. The British Army Corps of Engineers in about 1860 came in and started digging this mammoth channel. It was half completed, and a large storm came in and finished the job. Yep, half a kilometer wide, and it was for ships to transit through. They put a lighthouse there. 2 years later, another big storm came in and filled it right back in. And they abandoned the lighthouse, but they didn't dismantle it. So some nefarious people would set up on the beach the lights that would look very similar, and it would almost call those boats in, thinking they were going around the tip, and they were not. They were actually heading into peril.
Oh, wow.
Now, a lot of these storms, if you look at what happens, a lot of times these happen during November. It was the last active part of the shipping year. Ship owners always wanted that extra load to go through.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because there was extra money to be made on those last minute trips. But there was also a lot of risk, especially in the older days when you didn't have wireless, you didn't have flares. You were really on your own, except for other captains that may be transiting in the area. So when we look at all these things, you know, and the fact that the sand shifts and changes and things like that, it's very dynamic. In fact, up until probably the mid 80s, if the weather went really far out, you could actually see the shipwrecks in the sand
Oh, really?
from far out, which was really cool. Now things have changed. Obviously, the whole of Long Point has actually shifted east by about a mile to 2 miles, which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
So a lot of this activity happened a little bit further out. People think it's right off the beach, but it's not. It was much further away.
Okay.
So it's very interesting, and just the power of this lake is incredible. This spit that comes out, which is Long Point, to its entirety, saves everything on the inside here from a lot of active erosion that you would typically get on the other side near Port Burwell and things like that.
Right, right. Well, and this is also a UNESCO preserve, right?
That's correct. It actually, since the early 80s, has been preserved. There's no real legal teeth to it, but it's an acknowledgement saying that this is an area where, you know, birds migrate, animals go through, and because of that habitat needs to be saved. You can actually see on a map on the migratory route, you can actually see that Long Point is actually on there. Animal banding and things like that. One of the first winged birding banding stations was actually on Long Point. At any time you can go in and have a look and see what they're doing.
Right.
In fact, at nighttime sometimes they do owls, so they actually will call in owls so they can band them. And kids can have a look at it, and that's what I really love, is the fact that people can really look at the animals that are coming in, the birds, and say, wow, I've never seen that before. That's really interesting. And then the cool thing is that people down here, because of that UNESCO, there's a lot of Ministry of Natural Resources, so there's a lot of people that are coming by and looking at all of these wonderful things, and it really is at no cost, which is pretty interesting. So not everything costs a lot of money, and I think that's a really cool thing too, is that you can come down, you can enjoy the beach, you can get a little history. You can go to Bacchus, and there's a museum there with shipwrecks and all sorts of cool stuff like that, and giving you first-person interpretation of pioneer life, which is absolutely incredible. And I think that really enriches your stay in Norfolk. And a tour like this is just, you know, the icing on the cake, and hopefully creates more questions so you can start even learning more.
We'll be right back after this break with more of Graham Ferguson and Long Point Island Hugger Tours. So stay tuned.
The following program is brought to you by Rogers Anyplace TV. Enjoy exclusive content for free. Visit RogersAnyplaceTV.com.
After a night out with your friends, not having a plan for a safe ride home can leave you in a bad spot. You could end up riding in a police car, an ambulance, or a hearse. These unplanned modes of transportation can be a costly choice and do not take you home. Your plan could include a designated driver, a taxi, or public transit. Drink responsibly, choose your ride, and have a plan for a safe ride home.
Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more.
Hi, I'm Dion. I'm a volunteer here at Rogers TV, and when I'm not here at Rogers, you can find me roller skating in TV production and audio. Seemed like a really nice way to get a chance to learn some of it. I love playing with sound and video and things like that. Get to play with a lot of different equipment and learn.
Welcome back, and we're enjoying a wonderful afternoon on Long Point Bay here with Graham Ferguson, Captain, Natural Interpretive
Guide?
Historian,
Yeah.
Guide, yes. Here with the Long Point Island Hugger Tours, and we're experiencing an opportunity on this very first main voyage of this wonderful venture here to discover more about the excitement of what you can provide here with your tour service.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One of the things that we like to do is that we're always going to be giving
Welcome back, and we're enjoying a wonderful afternoon on Long Point Bay here with Graham Ferguson, Captain, Natural Interpretive
Guide?
Historian,
Yeah.
Guide, yes. Here with the Long Point Island Hugger Tours, and we're experiencing an opportunity on this very first main voyage of this wonderful venture here to discover more about the excitement of what you can provide here with your tour service.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One of the things that we like to do is that we're always going to be giving a little bit of interpretive history, a little bit of local lore, and then letting that all sink in with a nice ride on a boat. I think anytime you can give a boat a job, you're there. And that's what we like to do. We pride ourselves on really looking at what the clients want and then really imaging and really seeing what they want to have achieved and then going for it. And so making sure that the expectations are overachieved. That's really what makes a good tour, being attentive to people and what their needs are.
Right.
Having a look if somebody's a little bit cold, making sure they have a blanket, a little bit of hot cocoa if they have it. So we always try to make sure that experience, once they're done, they want to go, man, that was awesome. Is there anything else you can do? I said, well, I certainly do have. We have all sorts of things that we can do. So this year, we're going to be looking at doing some night sky work where we'll be able to take the top off a portion and we'll be able to do some talk about the stars, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then also we'll be during the fall, we'll actually be doing spring fall colors on the point, which will be kind of nice. So we'll be able to really showcase this area in its full color and splendor. During the summertime, we'll also offer some times for birthday parties for kids and so on and so forth, so they can come out and enjoy themselves on one of the sand spits and enjoy just a little bit of time with their families. The work will also allow me, because the boat has a very shallow draft, I can actually come up to seawalls. So if somebody would like to have a wedding and come onto the boat and I can drop them off in the backyard wedding, that is a very cool thing too. So we're really looking to expand those markets, and we're excited about what this year is going to hold for us this year.
Absolutely. It's it's early in the season, and we wish you abundance and joy with this venture, because it really is nice to be nurtured by someone who cares, who really knows the area, can really broaden our horizons, because we can live in our own backyard here but not really appreciate what we have our hands on.
I think sometimes we get so busy in our lives where we have kids, we have all of these different things that we're doing, and then all of a sudden we forget about ourselves and what we like to do. And reconnecting with nature in a place where we can do it quietly and appreciate things that are happening, maybe see some wildlife as we're cruising along. These are all of the things that are very important, I believe, for the wholeness of a person.
Truly triage for body, mind, and spirit.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We'd like to introduce another member of your crew.
Yes, David,
Yeah.
he is our experience and disability coordinator at Long Point Island Hugger Tours, and he is one of his roles that I'm really excited about is to see him develop special abilities and disabilities and bring them on board as well. I think that is something that we're really kind of missing out as far as inclusion, and both Dave and I are in agreement that this is something that we really like to see worked on and brought more to the forefront.
I think that's fabulous. Wherever you can have more inclusion and broaden the horizons of people with abilities and disabilities
That's right.
and bring them together in this unique package, I think it's fabulous. So I can't wait to hear more about David's story and his involvement here with you.
Thank you.
Joining me now is David Terrio, the Experience and Accessibility Consultant here at Long Point Island Hugger Tours. So thank you for being with us here today, David. I'd like to hear a little bit about how you got involved with the tours.
Well, I actually have known Graham here for about 4 years now. He used to be a PSW and was working with a roommate of mine. And we developed a bit of a friendship, and over the years, I've introduced him into the world of accessibility. I actually, when we first met, I had another wheelchair of mine in the area that I was in, and we decided one day I would take him out, go for a little tour around town, show him what it was like to be in a wheelchair in the area, all the difficulties that we have getting around, just the way the buildings were built back in the day is not really accessible. So what they have to do is they have to modify a lot of stuff, and a lot of these buildings, they just haven't done it yet. So it was quite funny to see.
Yeah, it would be, especially trading places and getting into the wheelchair and getting into the psyche of what it's like to live on a day-to-day basis in a wheelchair and trying to find enjoyment in your day-to-day lifestyle would be really quite an eye-opener for somebody who is able-bodied. And to have a tour guide such as yourself to take them around town would be really, really good to point out all the fine points, right?
Because there's a lot of stuff that the average person can do, but that a person in a wheelchair just can't do.
Right. So with you having this friendship with Graham and knowing about this venture, what is it you can see from an accessibility factor that this is an enriching experience for you?
Well, this is something that a person in a wheelchair can do. It's easy enough to get onto a boat, and with the space that's provided, enjoy the area.
So from the experience perspective, what do you see as your key role in helping to build the business and get the awareness out there?
Well, I'm actually the one that's responsible for the website, and I'm also one of the providers of the bookings. So
Wonderful. So you are going to be very much involved in the customer relationships on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
Wonderful. And have you had experience with this sort of thing before, or is this a new venture for you?
no, this is just like him. It's all brand new.
Well, this is what I like about the Long Point Island Hugger Tours. It's a new venture. It's raising awareness not only from the beauty of the ecosystem of Long Point Bay and the area, the lore, the history, but also breaking ground in accessibility and bringing able-bodied and the disabled community together to be able to experience something that is refreshing and rewarding as well.
Yes, it is.
Wonderful. And you really are a pinnacle here in helping people to understand that this kind of a tour boat with the pontoons and everything is much easier to get onto than a regular boat, right?
Oh yes, very, very much so. Because the floor is right at level with the door.
Right.
Whereas with a normal boat, you have to go down into the boat.
Right,
So it's just you wheel right onto it.
right. And there is enough space here. There's an ample room here for all types of people to be able to enjoy the experience, right? Okay, so David, you've lived in the area your entire life, or yes, and you have had an amazing experience having a PSW who came into your life and changed your life by partnering and maintaining a friendship with you. And what is your feeling about this business? Do you think that there's ample room for growth and potential as you and Graham continue to partner on with the experiences that you're sharing?
Very much so, yeah. Just the different type of things that you can do on a boat out here on the lake, in the bay. Yeah.
Right. Yes, exactly. Like having weddings on the boat even, right?
Weddings, all kinds of stuff.
Right.
Birthdays, whatever.
Right, right. So for the audience, just to reiterate, I'd love for you to share, how can people contact the Long Point Island Huggers?
Well, through the website. We have an email address. There's a contact form actually on the website itself, and phone numbers.
Can you share those with us?
Well, there you can reach Graham at 519-718-9608, and myself, you can reach me at 519-718-0170.
Wonderful. And it's a pleasure to experience this afternoon with you on this grand maiden voyage. And much success to you and Graham as you continue to grow and experience and share the lore and love of Long Point Bay.
Thank you.
Well, that was great. It was great to hear David talk about his experiences here and partnering with you.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see, where you can take this type of experience for people. And I think David is going to do a great job in having that first person, hey, I've been there, I know what it's like. Let's see if we can get you outside of your comfort zone. Let's see what else you can do.
Yeah.
It warms my heart, and I'm just so proud of him that he's taken on that role, because it's something that needs to be done, and inclusion is very much something that he is passionate about. So I'm really happy to see that came out.
Wonderful. Long Point can be user friendly.
Yes, it can. You just have to be careful. It's like any ecosystem, it's delicate.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Thank you.
So can you share with us how people watching the show can connect with you and
Certainly.
Partake of your services?
We'd like to direct them to our website, which is www.longpointislandhuggertours.com. It has a full listing of all of our calendar of events that's happening, so you can book tours with your family, or you can just book a single tour. I will be available for all those tour dates. So it's very, very cool. We're actually running also as well for the Mother's Day weekend, so we're doing that stuff as well. So it's very cool to see all of the activities that are happening. And also too, we're just if you would like to speak to us in person, you can certainly contact the captain directly, that's myself, at 519-718-9608.
Wonderful. And what do you see your season running?
Our season will run from, May 13th until approximately the end of September.
Okay.
If we have really good weather, I may be convinced not to put the boat away. We'll just see how it goes. But normally our time is usually between now and the end of September.
Wonderful. And, I wish you tons of success. This is a wonderful venture highlighting the ecosystem of Long Point Bay and the history, the lore, the natural beauty of this area, which really does need to be highlighted.
I think so too, and thank you very much for coming. It's a real pleasure. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're so welcome. And so this wraps up this edition of Oxford Empowered. Come and join us here on Long Point and experience the beauty of our natural ecosystem all around us. Body, mind, and spirit for you.
Well, I'm really happy that you were able to come out today.
Perfect.
This is one of those experiences where, sometimes the weather doesn't work out, but today I think we got the best of both worlds. We got the place to ourselves, and we got a little bit of wisp of light, and we were able to find a fantastic place to do the interview. It's all we can ask for in life.
Perfect, yeah. Absolutely. Stars and the moon aligned.
Yes, it did. I'm really, really happy. It's really great.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
of amazing things. And your mouth can save a life.
Hi, I'm Tom Wong. I'm just one of close to 1,000 Canadians in search of a stem cell match. We need your help.
A simple swab is all you need to register on the National Stem Cell Database. You could be the one to save a life. Find the hero in you.
This is Rogers TV, Tilsonburg.